March 29, 1974. A drought-stricken persimmon orchard near Xi'an. Farmers digging for water, not history. Yang Jifa's shovel hit something hard, but it wasn't stone. When he cleared the soil, a clay face emerged from the ground, its eyes staring back after more than 2,000 years of silence. In that instant, a routine search for survival became one of the greatest archaeological discoveries ever made. Beneath the orchard lay the mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. Not a simple tomb, but an underground empire. Thousands of life-sized warriors, horses, and officials arranged with military precision, built to rule the afterlife exactly as Qin ruled the living world.
And this was only the beginning. Over 50 years of excavation have revealed armies of clay, hidden satellite tombs, and vast ceremonial pits. Yet the emperor's central burial mound remains sealed. Using 21st century tools like muon tomography, scientists can now see inside without opening it, hinting at structures and dangers still untouched since antiquity. This investigation moves fast, pit by pit and layer by layer, separating legend from evidence and myth from method. Because the greatest mystery isn't what was found by accident in 1974, it's what still lies waiting beneath the earth.
When we talk about the Terracotta Army, we usually think of silent clay soldiers standing in endless rows, impressive but misleading. Because the real mystery isn't how they look, it's why they exist at all. Qin Shi Huang was a ruler obsessed with efficiency, control, and real power. He standardized writing, money, weapons, even cartwheels. So why would a man like that build an army that could never fight? Thousands of soldiers, life-sized, armed, organized, yet made of clay. Was this symbolism or something far more calculated? Before 1974, history didn't even know this army existed. The Shi Ji, written by Sima Qian, described palaces, traps, and rivers of mercury inside the tomb, but no mention of an external garrison. For centuries, scholars assumed the emperor relied on spiritual protection alone. An entire army was missing from the record. Then farmers digging a well broke through the illusion. When archaeologists arrived, they didn't find neat rows. They found collapse and destruction. Wooden roofs had caved in long ago, crushing soldiers under layers of clay and ash. Early digs were rushed. Paint vanished within minutes. Lessons were learned the hard way. Excavation slowed. Today, soil is removed grain by grain to preserve every trace. What emerged was not decoration, but doctrine. The army stands 1.5 kilometers east of the tomb, facing the former enemy states, a permanent defensive line. Pit 1 holds the main infantry, archers in front, heavy armored soldiers behind, chariots embedded within, flanks guarded against encirclement. This is textbook Qin warfare.
Pit 2 shows flexibility, kneeling and standing archers firing in waves, chariots as shock units, cavalry waiting beside saddled horses. Qin didn't just copy cavalry warfare, they mastered it. Pit 3 is command. Officers face each other, not the enemy. This is where decisions were made, where divination shaped strategy. Pit 4 is empty. The project was never finished. Rebellion ended it. Every warrior was mass-produced, yet individualized. Faces unique, bodies standardized, names stamped for accountability. Legalism made physical. And once they were vividly colored, until air destroyed it. The greatest threat to this army wasn't time, it was being uncovered. So, here is a puzzle.
How do bronze swords stay shiny and sharp for over 2,200 years? And why do the warriors' once vivid paints vanish within minutes of exposure? This is the science behind survival, the invisible battle between time and chemistry. For decades, a tantalizing theory took hold. Qin artisans had discovered chrome plating. In the 1970s, researchers found traces of chromium on bronze swords, perfectly rust-free. Documentaries leaped on it, lost technology, ancient alchemy. But was it true, or just a seductive myth? In 2019, a team from University College London, working with the Qin Mausoleum Museum, finally solved the mystery. Using scanning electron microscopy and X-ray spectroscopy, they analyzed swords and surrounding soil, every grain, every surface. The result? No secret chrome process on the metal itself. The chromium came from the lacquer coating on the wooden handles and scabbards. As wood decayed over centuries, chromium seeped onto the bronze as a contaminant. The real preservative? Two simple factors. First, the high tin content of Qin bronze, around 20%, formed a natural protective oxide. Second, the alkaline, fine-grained loess soil of Xi'an prevented airflow and oxidation. Nature had lent a hand. But what about the warrior's paint? Once unearthed, the lacquer shrinks and flakes in minutes. Enter an unlikely hero. Menthol. Melted, it's brushed over the wet figure, forming a solid waxy shield. As water slowly leaves the lacquer, the menthol sublimates, turning into gas over weeks, disappearing without a trace, leaving the colors intact. This breakthrough preserved the legendary green-faced archer and the purple sleeves warrior, letting us see Qin artistry almost as it was meant to be. Brilliant, fierce, eternal. Time can ravage clay and pigment, but science has found a way to hold it still. And in that pause, history speaks. When we think of the Terracotta Army, images of spears, chariots, and battle-ready soldiers come to mind. But Qin Shi Huang's vision wasn't only about war. What if I told you the emperor built an entire civilian empire underground, a society designed to serve, entertain, and maintain him in the afterlife? That's the question archaeologists set out to answer. Was this mausoleum strictly a military fortress, or did it function as a fully realized eternal kingdom? Let's start with pit K9901, the Acrobats. Located in the southeast of the necropolis, this pit is a striking contrast to the stoic, battle-hardened warriors. Here, 11 figures capture movement and grace, muscles taut, rib cages visible, wearing short skirts. One figure, known as supine figure number 28, is bent backward, feet flat, forming a bridge. Could this be an ancient yoga pose or acrobatic contortion? Nearby, a massive strong man with thick arms and a protruding belly hints at feats of strength. And the bronze tripod found here, weighing over 200 kilograms, wasn't for cooking. It was a prop, a challenge, a symbol of entertainment. Qin wanted to be amused even in the afterlife. This pit tells us that the great uniformity of the empire extended to performance and spectacle. Moving inward, we find Pit K006, the civil officials. Unlike the chaos of battle, these figures are orderly, wearing tall, flat caps and long robes, hands tucked into their sleeves, the classical sleeve-clasping pose of bureaucrats. Knives and whetstones hang from their belts, the tools of the Qin scribe, used to correct mistakes on bamboo slips. Tracks of a wooden carriage at the entrance suggest this was more than ceremonial. It functioned as a government hub underground, a place where laws were recorded and justice administered even in eternity.
Then there's pit K007, the bronze waterfowl. Discovered in 2000, this pit recreates a miniature river environment. 46 life-sized bronze birds, swans, cranes, geese, line the model stream, while 15 terracotta trainers kneel or sit nearby, poised as if feeding or training them. The level of artistry is astonishing. Swans arch their necks to drink, others preen, and traces of white paint hint at lifelike coloring. Qin's afterlife wasn't only about administration or defense, it was tranquility, a private imperial park where he could watch the world flow, even underground.
Finally, we encounter Pit K9801, the Stone Armory. Covering over 13,000 square meters, this armory contains 87 suits of limestone armor and 43 helmets, yet the density suggests thousands more remain buried. Heavy, brittle, and impractical for battle, these suits were clearly symbolic, Ming Qi or spirit goods. Crafted meticulously from bluestone, linked with bronze wire, a single suit required up to 416 days of labor. Imagine the manpower, the organization, the sheer willpower to produce this eternal arsenal. The emperor's army is eternal, yes, but so is his labor, ambition, and vision. Across these pits, a picture emerges. Qin Shi Huang's mausoleum was not just a battlefield frozen in clay, but an entire functioning society. Warriors, bureaucrats, entertainers, and pets, all assembled to serve him forever. In the emperor's mind, death was not an end. It was an extension of empire, meticulously designed, endlessly vivid, and astonishingly human. Here, in the quiet soil of Lintong, history whispers its secrets. Qin's afterlife was not merely a guard against enemies, but a mirror of his world, complex, ordered, and alive, down to the smallest acrobat and the tiniest swan.
History is full of whispers, legends written in texts but often invisible beneath the soil, until suddenly they emerged. In 2024, one such whisper became a roar. Archaeologists, racing against heavy rains threatening a cluster of 9 tombs west of Qin Shi Huang's mausoleum, stumbled upon something extraordinary. Tomb QL1, also referred to as QCLM1. What they expected was a looted, empty shell. What they found was a time capsule frozen in history, untouched for over 2 millennia. Inside the tomb lay a 16-ton wooden coffin, still sealed, still pristine, and inside that coffin, treasures that spoke volumes about power, trade, and loyalty. The centerpiece, a golden camel. Not life-sized, but exquisitely crafted from gold and silver, representing a Bactrian camel. This tiny figure is more than decoration, it's a historical Rosetta Stone, proof that the Qin dynasty was connected to the distant reaches of Central Asia. The presence of this camel tells us the emperor's world extended far beyond China, touching trade networks with the Xiongnu and the routes that would later become the Silk Road. The treasures did not stop there. 6,000 bronze coins, jade pendants, silver vessels, and a full set of bronze cooking utensils filled the tomb. And, of course, weapons, high-status swords and crossbows, marking the occupant not just as a noble, but as a warrior of exceptional rank. Every item whispered a story of wealth, status, and careful curation.
Archaeologists and historians are confident this was Prince Gao, a son of Qin Shi Huang. According to Sima Chen, the emperor's death unleashed a brutal succession crisis. His son, Hu Hai, seized the throne and began a massacre of siblings, 18 brothers and 10 sisters, erasing rivals with chilling efficiency. Prince Gao, facing certain death, volunteered to be sacrificed, buried at his father's feet, demonstrating loyalty that was simultaneously brave and politically convenient. Hu Hai rewarded him with a grand burial, including 100,000 coins, cementing Gao's memory in gold and wood. Contrast QL1 with the other tombs in the same cluster. There, archaeologists found evidence of horrific violence, dismembered skeletons, skulls separated from bodies, clear signs of execution. The narrative matches history almost perfectly. Those who resisted or were powerless faced the blade, while the willing were immortalized with wealth and ceremony. This discovery is monumental. QL1 doesn't just tell us about one prince, it illuminates the human side of imperial politics, fear, loyalty, ambition, and survival, all encapsulated in a burial that had waited silently for over 2,200 years to tell its story. It's proof that even in the shadow of a ruthless dynasty, acts of strategic courage could shape how history remembered a life.
For centuries, the great mound of Qin Shi Huang's tomb has stood like a silent sentinel, its secrets buried beneath layers of earth, untouched by spades or shovels. Scholars have long wondered, is this mound just a colossal heap of soil, or does it truly conceal the legendary underground palace described by Sima Qian over 2,000 years ago? And if it exists, could we ever see inside without disturbing the tomb? Sima Qian's writings are vivid. He described the emperor's burial chamber as a miniature cosmos, a palace complete with rivers of mercury simulating the Yellow River, the Yangtze, and the Great Seas, all flowing mechanically. For centuries, historians dismissed this as hyperbole, imagining the rivers as symbolic metaphors rather than literal streams of toxic metal. Yet in 2020, modern science offered a startling confirmation. Using LiDAR and soil gas sensors, researchers measured mercury vapor concentrations across the mound. Where background levels in the surrounding Xi'an soil hovered around 5 to 10 nanograms per cubic meter, certain points on the mound spiked to 27 nanograms per cubic meter or more. Even more intriguing, the high mercury zones formed patterns that closely mirrored the known waterways of the Qin Empire, suggesting that Sima Qian's rivers were not fiction, they were real, flowing beneath the earth. Calculations estimate a total mercury outflux of 5 times 10 to the -8th kilograms per second, indicating a massive reservoir still leaks through cracks after 2,000 years. But mercury alone could not reveal the tomb's internal architecture. That breakthrough came with cosmic ray muon radiography, an extraordinary technology harnessing particles that constantly shower the Earth. Muons can penetrate deep layers of soil, but dense materials like stone or metal block them. By placing detectors around the mound, scientists can create a three-dimensional density map, effectively an X-ray of the tomb without touching a single brick. Preliminary results from Beijing Normal University in 2024 and 2025 were astonishing. The data revealed large density anomalies consistent with built structures. A central void, likely the main palace chamber, remains intact. Its roof has not collapsed. Surrounding high-density zones suggest massive metallic artifacts, possibly the bronze coffin itself. The chamber is approximately 30 meters below the surface, measuring an impressive 80 by 50 meters, a true underground palace frozen in time. These discoveries bridge legend and science. The rivers of mercury, once thought fantastical, are now measurable phenomena, and the hidden palace, long dismissed as myth, appears to be very real. Using the subtle particles of the cosmos itself, we are beginning to see into the eternal resting place of China's first emperor, without disturbing a single layer of his millennia-old tomb. The mound waits silently still, holding secrets no human has yet touched,
And with each new technology, we come closer to understanding the grand vision Qin Shi Huang left behind, a world in miniature, a kingdom beneath our feet, and rivers that have flowed unseen for over 2,000 years. Building the mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang was not just an architectural feat, it was a monument of human endeavor and human cost. For centuries, historians marveled at the scale of the project, but questions remained. How did a 3rd century BCE state mobilize the manpower, materials, and technology to construct such a complex? And at what price? Sima Chen, in his Shiji, claimed 700,000 laborers labored on the emperor's tomb. Archaeology has confirmed this staggering number. Sites like Zhao Beihu reveal mass graves of workers, their remains whispering stories of toil and sacrifice. DNA analyses show men drawn from all corners of the empire, evidence of a mobilized workforce spanning Qin territory. But the labor was far from voluntary. Iron shackles and neck clamps tell us these were often convicts and slaves, bound to the project by force. The scope of punishment extended even further. Entire families were sometimes implicated. Women and children were buried alongside the laborers, victims of the harsh legalist principle of kin liability. The empire's ideology made obedience absolute and defiance fatal. Every brick, every terracotta soldier came at a human price written in bones. The logistics behind this colossal enterprise were equally remarkable. Timber analysis shows pine and cypress transported hundreds of kilometers, evidence of a sophisticated supply network. Local kilns fired the Terracotta Warriors, but raw materials, clay, lacquer, and pigments were sourced across the empire. One pigment, the famous Han purple, required a synthetic barium copper silicate heated to over 1,000 degrees Celsius. In an age without thermometers or industrial furnaces, this was a feat of chemical engineering unmatched in the ancient world. Every element of the mausoleum, soldiers, chariots, armor, pigments, reflects not just imperial ambition, but an intricate orchestration of people, materials, and technology. The tomb is more than a burial site. It is a testament to the power of Qin administration and a reminder of the human lives that sustained it. The empire's grandeur was built on the sweat, skill, and blood of hundreds of thousands, a monumental effort frozen in clay, stone, and pigment for eternity. The opening of Qin Shi Huang's mausoleum has been a 50-year journey, from Yang Jifa's accidental discovery in 1974 to cosmic muon scans in 2025. The Terracotta Army is a frozen military machine, the so-called chrome on weapons a chemical coincidence, and the mercury beneath the mound a deliberate, toxic marvel. The emperor's quest for immortality created a shadow civilization beneath the earth, mirroring life above. Yet the central tomb remains sealed, silk, bamboo, and painted walls still too fragile and mercury too dangerous. For now, the first emperor sleeps, guarded by clay soldiers, rivers of quicksilver, and the quiet survey of cosmic rays.